and welcome to Economic Empowerment May Mortgage Motivation. This is with United Christian Faith Ministries, and we just want to encourage people to get into the motivation of purchasing a home, getting information on how to purchase a home. So we have some people within the community that work within this area of helping you purchase your new home, knowing how to go through that process, speaking with the lender, speaking with that realtor. So we have those individuals that will provide us with the education, of course, resources, and just the knowledge of this information of the home buying process, of course, in a fun, creative way in doing it. So we're going to go ahead and introduce the speakers for tonight and talk a little bit more on ways and questions, of course, in which a lot of people have pertaining to purchasing a home, okay? So again, welcome everyone. And before we do that as well, I definitely want you to share out of this event. So definitely share. Send it to your friends and family. Definitely also like the UCFM YouTube page, like, share, and of course, post that information with United Christian Faith Ministries, okay? All right, so we'll have our speakers to come on and we'll go ahead and welcome them in. All right. Hello. Awesome. So great to have you guys. I'm so excited about this conversation on tonight. So what we're going to do, of course, I didn't introduce myself just yet, but I am Karen with Economic Empowerment with United Christian Faith Ministries, Karen Burks, and I will be hosting this event along with speaking with you guys on the best practices, of course, of purchasing a home. And of course, this is within your area of expertise. So we want to get your knowledge and ways of how to go forth with doing this. So I'll start off with Ms. D, who brought this information to me, and it was most needed, of course, at this time of talking about home loans, of course, just purchasing a home as well. So Ms. D, I'll have you to start us off, and then you can just choose the next person from there to introduce themselves and talk about what the work that you do, and then currently what you're doing in order to help people purchase their homes. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Karen. It's great to be here. I am Dee Green, so I am a member of UCFM for those who don't know me. I have been in Baton Rouge since 2016. I've been licensed since 2019 in Louisiana. And last year, I joined the Hout Group, which is a real estate team with Keller Williams. And we had over 267 families buy and sell real estate, which was absolutely awesome. We are top 5% in the Gulf Coast region, top 1% in Baton Rouge area. So I'm excited to be here, share some information with you guys. I brought a team of people that I absolutely adore with me. I have Joshua HDMK on here, Sissy, and Brian. So I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves, starting with Josh.
That's me. I am a licensed home inspector with HDMK Home Inspection. Just finishing up some inspections for the day. We'll talk. I don't think you want to talk about home inspections yet, but that's pretty much the only introduction I have. We are a pretty large company in the area. We actually have 5 to 6 home inspectors that all work for HDMK. Typically, it would be a kind of just a one sole proprietor type business. We have multiple inspectors, and we are doing lots of home inspections in the area.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, Joshua. All right. Mr. Bryant or Miss Sissy?
Brian? Oh, well, I'm Sissy Whittington, either one. I'm Sissy Whittington with Title Plus. Dee and Karen, thank you so much for having me today. I'm with Title Plus, and our main offices are in Baton Rouge. We do have 5 offices. We have 2 in Baton Rouge, one in the Bonfray building, one off of Bluebonnet. We have 2 in Denham Springs and 1 in Prairieville. We are one of the top 5 title companies in Baton Rouge. A title company, I will talk more about that and what a title company does as far as handling your real estate transactions. I have been a notary public since, 1994. I've been in real estate since even long before that. And so I have a lot of experience in the real estate area. Love my agents, love first-time home buyers, and love helping everyone move through that process. And it's just something that's near and dear to me. And I hope I can give you some valuable information today that'll help you along.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sissy. All right. Mr. Brian, you're last. Go ahead and introduce yourself to us.
Well, my name is Bryant Moore. I am a mortgage loan officer with Bank Corp South Mortgage right here in Baton Rouge. I've been in banking for over 20 years now. It sounds strange to say that, but out of all the different jobs I've had in banking, the mortgage lending has been my favorite. My job title is Community Development Lender. And what that means is now I can do any type of mortgage. I actually do all different types of mortgages, but my focus is primarily on low to moderate income borrowers or low to moderate income areas. And we have a special mortgage loan program that I will talk about a little bit later. But other than that, just glad to be here. Glad to be part of this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to go get right into it, you all. I love to hear about the extensive backgrounds in which you all have within the work, the background within banking, which is my love as well. My background is in banking. So whenever you talk about that, I just get a big old smile about it. So let's go into talking about a few of these questions which I have. And how I'll do this, I will just direct it based on realtor, notary, lender, or our inspector, home inspector. So I'll go as such, but of course, sometimes these things could cross. So if you definitely have information on it, it can kind of go to any of you guys to answer that particular question, okay? And of course, if you want to add in some information, feel free to do that as well. So the first one to go to Dee, our realtor, and the first question is, what are the typical costs associated with the home buying purchase?
Absolutely. So when it comes to purchasing a home, you have a few different things that you want to look to, like security deposit, which is the earnest money deposit. It can vary anywhere between 500 to 1% of the actual loan amount. And that's just an upfront cost. You also can look to maybe the appraisal costs and the credit report fees. Those two kind of sometimes, depending on the lender and depending on the program that you go through, they can be wrapped into the loan. And Brian, I'm sure, can give you more information about that. But just upfront costs, you're looking at the inspection, which can be anywhere between 300 or more you can expect to have. And then you have the appraisal fee, which I said that, and the security deposit. So it's really 4 major things that you want to prepare yourself to have right off the bat, which would be inspection, appraisal, credit report, and deposit, earnest money deposit.
Awesome. We want to prepare them for how much they should be saving. So I love that. So I'll go to Ms. Sissy for the notary portion. This question states, will my real estate agent know anything about the title of the home once going into this home? Give us some insight of what that looks like when it comes to the title. Is it, how does that work exactly with the title of the home?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be more than happy to tell you about that. So as far as that closing process, generally the way that happens is, of course, you're going to reach out to your lender. Brian's going to be helping you with that first and foremost, and you're going to want to go to Brian and get that pre-approval letter first and foremost, because Dee's going to need to know exactly what you can afford for that home. And so you're going to go to Brian first, and he's going to hook you up to get you that pre-approval letter. And then once that happens, Dee's going to be looking for that home for you to get you set up with that home. As soon as she finds you a home, she's going to be getting that contract over to us as the title company, so we can start researching that title immediately. Because D is not necessarily going to know if that seller has clear title to that property. And that's where the title company comes in, and that's our job to handle that for her. So we can make sure, number one, that seller does own that home. And of course, once we're starting that process, in the meantime, that's where your inspection is going to be coming in, where the physical part of that property is being inspected. But we're inspecting the title portion of that just to make sure that that home is actually owned by that seller.
Absolutely. I love how you went through those steps. So I hope those who are watching are taking great notes on the steps in which Ms. Sissy mentioned. All right. So Mr. Bryant, my question for you. What's the difference between being pre-qualified and being pre-approved? There are, a great difference between the two, but oftentimes it's mixed as far as the difference between the two. If you can elaborate on more on what the difference is between those two.
Well, that's a question that comes up a lot. And really, from my standpoint, I use them interchangeably. As far as being pre-qualified or pre-approved, it really comes down to the same thing. That means you've applied for a mortgage loan. I've done my due diligence to establish how much you qualify for, and based on the information we have, what that means is based on the information I have and that I know right now, you should qualify for a certain loan amount. So from my perspective, there's really not a difference between if I say you're pre-qualified or pre-approved, it's the same thing. Now, what's important to know about that is when we say, when it comes down to being pre-approved, it's important to understand that doesn't mean that you're 100. That's not the same as being approved. A lot of people don't realize that as you go through the loan process, you don't actually get approved until maybe 3 or 4 days before you close your loan. Now, having said that, if I've done my part up front, then and I send you a pre-approval letter, there's really, there's really no reason that at that point, there's no reason you should not actually be approved for the loan. But I just like to make the distinction that there are a lot of different things that can affect a pre-approval. But so the difference, I don't really see a difference in either one. But the important thing is that you do start the process and get pre-qualified.
Absolutely. All right. So our next question is to Mr. Joshua. So this question states, what is covered under the inspections? So whenever you go in and this is a new home buyer and they're not too sure on what's being covered, do you go over those things with them? Or what exactly would they know is being covered of what they're actually paying for? So what does that look like exactly?
Yeah, so what we have is an inspection agreement, which you'll get when you schedule an inspection with us. The agreement goes over the scope of what a home inspection is and what it's not. Essentially, what we do is I check out roof, foundation, AC, heat, plumbing, electrical, appliances, windows, doors, cabinets, pretty much everything within the home that I can get my eyes on. So what an home inspection is, it's a limited visual inspection. It's not an invasive evaluation. I'm not an HVAC technician and taking the AC system apart and checking Freon levels and evaluating it in an invasive manner. But what I do is I test it from a knowledge of doing it all day, every day, from a visual standpoint, from a cooling and heating standpoint. And if I feel that it's not operating properly, I direct you to the appropriate tradesman. So that can happen whether it's the HVAC system or an electrician or a plumber or whoever it may be. But I'm creating you a long report. So the report's going to be 50, 60 pages long most of the time. Pictures make it long. Most pictures are not bad. They're just reference points. I try to give you reference points throughout the entire report. Minor issues, maintenance issues, things to think about over time, and just helpful information about the home you're buying. That's what the full report is designed for. Now, I always tell people I'm not here to comment on every small and cosmetic issue. I'm elephants, not mice. I want to find something that's going to be a potential significant monetary wise for you shortly after moving the home is what we absolutely don't. So we create actually two different reports. When I send my clients their reports, there's a full report and then there's a summary report. And I always tell the client, think of the summary as what would I personally do if I were buying this house. This is what I would fix now as opposed to later. And then the full report will also have a bunch of additional items that you should keep an eye out for, or maybe just maintenance things to do over time.
Awesome. Thank you, Joshua. That really cleared up some questions. I saw a few people putting some things into the chat, and we'll get to those questions a little bit later as well. All right, Dee, I have a question for you. So how do someone get started with the home buying process and the selling process? So I'm putting both of these in there. What would it look like for the home buying process and then also for the selling process? Oftentimes people may say, oh, this is a good time to sell your home. Is there a such thing as a selling market versus a buying market? So kind of talk with us about that on both of those.
Okay, awesome. So that's a really good question. Thank you for asking. So what I typically recommend to anyone that I come across, the first step in either the home buying or home selling process is a consultation, right? Because you want your realtor to guide you and let you know where you want to go, who you want to talk to, who's the best fit for you, whether you need to talk to my credit counselor or my lender. Like typically I send people to Brian and he'll let me know, okay, this person needs to, they have a few more months, so they may want to give it the credit counselor. And if I know that in advance, you know, their credit is less than perfect and they wouldn't necessarily qualify for specific loans, then I will go ahead and set them up with a credit counselor. So it really varies on situation. So you want to have that consultation first on either side. With the selling side, you want to have the consultation first because people typically tend to think that they need to make more repairs than are necessary for their homes to get sold on the market. So you want to just have a quick walkthrough so I can say, hey, okay, this color paint is fine. You don't have to change anything. You know, this cabinet, the granite countertops, they look great. You don't have to get new countertops. You don't have to take up the floor. Like a lot of times people think they need to do major changes when they don't. So I recommend you get that consultation first before you make any moves. And then when it comes to the differences in the market, you know, there is no wrong time to sell a home, right? You can always sell it regardless of the season. Statistically, people have been shown to buy more houses and sell more houses in the summer and spring months, but people are selling houses all throughout the year. So, you know, it's really not a wrong time to do that. And then also the difference between a seller and a buyer's market. In a buyer market, you have more houses that are out there, so there are better opportunities to negotiate on the buy side. When it's the seller's market, you have more buyers out there, so you have better chances at getting your home at asking price.
Awesome. I love it. I hope that answers those questions that our guests are having. And then we have a few questions that are coming in, but we will wait to the end to do those questions if I haven't already asked those already. We're going to go to Ms. Sissy on this next question. So this question, it states, what's the difference between a title company and a closing attorney?
Well, a closing attorney generally works with a title company, but of course it's not absolutely necessary. Most real estate transactions nowadays in the state of Louisiana are done with title companies. An actual attorney in the state of Louisiana is the only, an attorney has to be who actually examines the title in the state of Louisiana. And what I mean by that is only an attorney can actually sign off on an actual an exam of the title stating that the title is clear on property, or that actually determines what defects there are on the property for getting that cleared up to make sure that everything is good. They sign off on the title opinion, then which allows title insurance policies to be issued from. So the title, and you said title company, which is we have title attorneys or closing attorneys that actually work for us. And that's essentially the same thing. We also have, and I'm a notary, so I'm a settlement agent. So we have attorneys that close the final sale. In a closing, a lot of times you'll hear everyone refer to closings, and what does that mean? That's the final process of signing the documents, all the disbursement of funds. That's the final settlement. That's when you, if you're the buyer, you actually get the keys to the home. If you're the seller, that's when you actually are signing your documents and you're getting a check for the proceeds, hopefully. And so sometimes you have a notary that's at the closing that's signing off with you on those documents, and sometimes it's an attorney that's doing that with you. But the attorney is who's in the background that's actually examined the title. And usually that is all taking place with the title company.
Love it. Thank you so much for that clarity on that. So next question. I also want to know this as well. So let's talk about mortgage points. What does that mean exactly when someone states, what is mortgage points, Mr. Bryant? And going into that process of purchasing a home, what does that look like exactly?
And to answer that, I would say if anybody wants to join in and add to the definition, fine. Because, and the reason I say that is because when we do our mortgages, I don't add points to them. But basically what that means is that if I can establish an interest rate for you, I say that this is your rate, then you may have the opportunity to, if you pay a little bit extra, then your rate would be could be a little bit lower. I mean, that, like I said, I don't charge points or anything. So whatever my rate is, that's what it is. So if anybody wants to add to that, then please do.
I think you answered that perfectly.
Awesome.
You can buy your interest rate down, right? But you don't have to do that with your company. That's great.
Right.
I love it.
I love that. And so you're with Bank Corp South.
Bank Corp South, yes.
Love it.
Let's go into a little bit. I know you mentioned earlier about the type of loans in which you guys offer and for the marginalized communities or individuals. If you can kind of talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like, we would love to hear more about that.
Okay, I really appreciate that. And let me just give you the parameters of the loan. And if I'm going on too long, let me know. But I do think it's important to that people know that this is available. That's one of the reasons that I met Dee is we were talking about different programs and how to work together and all. But the parameters of the loan, and I saw in the chat that there was a question about loans for teachers. Well, we don't have a specific loan for teachers, but this is one of the loan programs that we market to teachers, just because a lot of times it just kind of fits. But it's 100% financing. The down payment is $500, and there's no private mortgage insurance. Now, the reason I always have to explain, if it's someone's first time buying a house and you tell them it's 100% financing, they might think that's normal. But typically, your other options would be you're going to either with an FHA loan, you're going to put 3.5% down, and you're going to have private mortgage insurance, or with a conventional mortgage, you're going to put 5% down, and you're going to have private mortgage insurance. Okay, so that's why the 100% financing means instead of needing $10,000, $15,000, you need $500. Not having the private mortgage insurance is important to point out, because unless you put 20% down, you're going to have to pay an extra insurance that doesn't really benefit the customer. That's there to protect the loan. So we don't have to charge that, so we don't. And what that translates into for the customer is that's an extra $100 per month that they would be paying that they don't have to. So that means lower mortgage payment, or you get a bigger house, So
right.
Those are the parameters of it. Now, the way you qualify, there's really two different ways to qualify. The first way is based on income. In Baton Rouge, in East Baton Rouge Parish, Livingston, and Ascension, if your income is $59,000 or less, that's the qualifier. If it's $59,000 or less, then you can qualify for that particular mortgage. If your income is higher than that, if it's $60,000, $100,000, sometimes you have a married couple and their combined income is going to be over that $59,000 threshold, you can still qualify for it, but the house you're purchasing has to be in a census tract where the average income is $59,000 or less. So in other words, if your income is $59,000 or less, you can go anywhere, and it doesn't matter where the house is located. if your income is higher than that, then the house needs to be in an area where the average income is less than 59,000. And just to give an example, here's where it gets kind of interesting. It's very it's not easy to determine where the average income is 59,000 or less. The Baton Rouge Country Club is located in a census tract where the average income is less than 59,000. So I guess my point is, even though we're saying that it has to be in a census tract where the average income is less than 59,000, that's usually not the case, because when you're in a city, the income levels are very close to, as far as different areas. So you can find a really nice house even though technically it's in a census tract where the average income is 59,000 or less.
Yes, Mr. Bryant, thank you so much for sharing that information. You stated some major things with the PMI. Oh my gosh, don't have to go through that process. I mean, that's a savings in itself, with that 20%. And even if you do not have that 20% available, like you mentioned, you're saving on average between $100, $200 towards your mortgage payment, and then 100% down. I mean, 100%, that in which you guys are covering for that is huge. That is major. I definitely will be sending some referrals, because I didn't know that was even available. And I'm just so grateful that you shared that information. But of course, at the end, I definitely want you to just share how they can contact you, so we can get more people into purchasing their homes. One more question for you, and then I'll move on to Joshua. Does this also qualify for individuals that are wanting to purchase a multifamily home as their first time home purchase? Would this particular purchase be able to qualify for that?
With this particular mortgage, it needs to be a single family home. It wasn't always like that, but before we were able to do duplexes, but it does need to be a single family home.
All right, thank you so much. Awesome. It's still a great type of program in which you guys are doing. It is very different. I haven't known of one to be like that since I've been in banking. So that's pretty good. I love it.
And I'm sorry. The way I like to sum it up is that it's what it comes down to. It is possible if you have $500, you can buy a house. And actually, I showed Dee when we met for lunch. I showed her the closing disclosures where the funds the customer needed for closing came out to $500. So it really can be done. And I appreciate the opportunity to let people know about it.
I want to hear more success stories like that. All it took was $500 to purchase a home. So definitely, we want to hear more of those kind of stories. All right. So Joshua, we want to get you to inspect some more homes for us. So I have a question for you. What type of inspection report is supplied, and how long does it take to submit when that inspection report is supplied?
Yes. So I kind of covered that with the other question, but so there's going to be a full report. Like I said, it's going to be written out in depth. It goes through each system of the home. It separates each system of the home. It goes through exterior, roof, and then it'll go into the plumbing section, the HVAC section, all of that. That'll be in the full report. And then we create that summary as I was talking about earlier. And so that's the way the report is. We actually, if the client is present for the inspection, we print the report out on site. So you will get the report right then and there. I will be done with the report before I leave the house on most occasions. There are some instances where, depending on the type of house, how big it is, maybe if it's in rough shape, where we don't print it on site, and then at the absolute worst, you get your report that night every single time.
Awesome. Joshua, you answered one of the questions that I was about to ask you, as far as could someone be on site? And you did mention that they can be on site, but they cannot be telling you, hey, you need to check this, that.
Yeah, so when people ask, I always encourage that you absolutely come, but I do kind of recommend people come towards the end of the inspection. That way I'm allowed to get in, and we take it very serious. So we have a very strict set of systems and procedures, and creating your report, it's best if we're not interrupted throughout that process. but it's not the end of the world. Of course, anybody's welcome to come.
Right.
We find that it's better if you come towards the end of the inspection. You're not standing around for 2-3 hours, and you can come towards the end. We can go over. I can point out things. I can address any of your questions and concerns all at the end of the inspection after I've done everything that I need to do.
Very good. So Joshua, could you tell us whether or not if it's, feasible to purchase a home, or like, no, I suggest, hey, you shouldn't buy this home because it has this 1, 2, 3, like a whole list of problems. So don't purchase this home. Are you able to tell that person that or not?
So I am not going to tell you whether you should buy the house or not. That is for you to decide. What I do is do my absolute best to provide you an in-depth report so that you have full knowledge of what the house has, what the problems are, what maybe it doesn't have any problems. Maybe you're in great shape. But I can't tell you whether you should or shouldn't buy it. I get the question multiple times a week. But yeah, all I do is I provide you with as much information that can help you make an educated decision, maybe direct you towards more tradesmen that can come in and more evasively evaluate it, like I kind of alluded to earlier with the HVAC system. But that's what I'm there for. I'm there to present information.
Love it. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to go to Miss Sissy for this next question. It is, let's see here. How much can I expect to pay for title insurance? So we want to know, as far as getting our budget in order and, getting the finances for this, what is expected to pay for the title insurance?
If you don't mind, let me back you up and tell you a little bit about title insurance. Would that be okay?
That would be perfectly fine.
Let me tell you a little bit about title insurance. When you, of course, and I can give you a little bit of quoting on title insurance. Title insurance, as far as what the pricing is, we'll tell you about that. That's going to be included in your closing costs. If you are getting a loan and you're going to see Brian and you get that loan, you are required to have lender's title insurance, because your mortgage lenders do require that you have lender's title insurance coverage. What is optional and what you're purchasing is going to be owner's title insurance. So what is title insurance? Everyone always wants to know, and why is that optional for owners, and why do I have to get it? Because it is an extra expense that you do have as part of your closing. Title insurance is an insurance policy. Well, it's car insurance. How many of us pay car insurance? I love paying my car insurance premium every month. I'm sure y'all love paying your car insurance premium every month too, right? Not. But it is an insurance policy. And what it protects is the title to the property. Whereas our auto insurance and most insurances that we have, of course, they protect against future events. Title insurance is actually protecting against past hazards, hazards that we wouldn't know about. And it's insurance against for the title to the property. So that would be things that we may know about through the research of the title, such as recording errors, maybe past deeds that were misrecorded at the clerk of court's office, long lost heirs, things that we would know about, forgeries on documents, maybe a notary notarized something that wasn't correct. Sometimes it can be errors in the legal descriptions of properties, and maybe it wasn't caught by the closing attorney or the title attorney that examined the property before. There could be several things wrong with the title. What people don't realize is there are usually one in about every 3 titles, there are some kind of title issues. Now, most title companies get those issues resolved before you even ever go to closing, and you may not even know that they're there. It could even be a prior mortgage that maybe that the seller had or a prior owner had that was not canceled, and so the title company is going back and curing, what we call curing the title, and fixing those problems before you ever get to closing. But those things have to be fixed. So title insurance insures those things. So as an owner, because buying a home is probably one of the biggest investments you will ever make, you want to make sure that that property is insured. So if anything ever happens and someone knocks on your door, or you get ready to sell this home, and then all of a sudden someone tells you that there is a title issue, then you're going to want to make sure that you're protected for that. It is a one-time premium. When you pay that at closing, when you purchase your home, you're not paying that every month. You're not ever going to have to go back and pay this premium again. And it's not only protecting you against any of these hazards up to the sale price or the amount that you put into that home, it's also covering you for the right to representation. So it would cover your attorney fees to fight these issues that may arise, even if someone was incorrect in trying to make a claim against your property for title issues. So it would cover you there. As far as the premium, it's a very requiring the lender's coverage. You're not charged double the premiums. You're charged a premium that's it's so much per thousand. So say on 100, oh gosh, and now you're going to call me out on that, and so I would have to tell you what those premiums are. Let me see if I can pull up some of these premiums for you. On a $285,000 home with a loan amount of $276, the owner's premium would only be $457. But you have the lender's premium, which is about $1,000 on that. So when you add the two together, it's a total premium cost.
Okay.
So, but you already have to have the lender's premium. So you're having to pay that $1,000 anyway. So paying the few extra $100 to get the owner's premium, it's not really much to have that coverage.
Okay.
So it's definitely something you would want to get.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that clarity on that question. So I'm going to transition to a few questions from our audience. We will have those come up on the screen and I'll just read those out. A few of those questions. As soon as they pop up on the screen for me, I'll read that. All right, so Ms. Atkins has, I am a school teacher. I would like to purchase a home and hear that there are a teacher's loan. A company, NACA, states that they can help me purchase a home with no money down and no closing costs. So it kind of goes into the question in which Mr. Bryant mentioned earlier, the answer in which he responded for that. Definitely reach out to Mr. Bryant pertaining to that, because that is a great process of doing the home buying process. So here's the next question. Is that something all lenders do? No, I can answer that one. No, definitely. That's the part in which you really have to do your own research and search out to see what are what's your process? What are the rates going like for right now? But definitely this is like a hidden gem that I just happened to find out about for today. So I'm going to get this information out to so many people that are looking to purchase homes. And definitely, of course, being that you're on this be broadcast, of course, where others could see it as well. But I hope I answered that question correctly, Mr. Bryant. Do others offer this? It may be others that offer it, but I'm not sure of how it's packaged. Let me just
typically what happens is, like for example, with our bank, we do have a $500 incentive towards closing costs for we call it it's our heroes discount. So it depends on which profession you're. If you're in law enforcement, the medical field, teachers, then different banks at different times will have incentives for them. That usually applies to closing costs.
Okay, awesome. Very good. All right, Ms. Atkins is on the roll tonight. So second part question. I like to purchase land in Walker, but cannot find land. Is building a home and a good idea with shortages in lumber, etc. Yes, I hear about the shortage within lumber. So let's talk about that. It's kind of open to anyone to answer this question.
Well, I can say this. I know that there's a shortage. It's more expensive to buy, per square foot because lumber is a lot higher. But it doesn't, as far as I can tell, when there are subdivisions that are still being built, there's a lot of different projects going on in Baton Rouge I don't know how much it slowed things down. I don't know how long it'll last, but it seems to be, people are still building homes, and you have entire subdivisions that are being sold out, before 6 months before they've been built. So, is it a good idea? It's going to cost you a little bit more, but people are actually, it's still going strong right now.
Absolutely.
So I'll because I'm actually about to start building.
All right. Yes, let's talk.
Expertise area at all, but what I will say is that for me, I decided to move forward even with the lumber costs, because for me it was about price per square foot. Depending on where you are and what your neighborhood, the neighborhood you want to build, or at least the area that you do your research. That's what I did as far as great to help you with that is figure out what the price per square foot is, and is there room in the budget. Figure out what kind of house, how big, and how much money you have to spend. All those things will come into play, and that's what I did. Once I came up with those numbers, I felt there was room in the price per square foot of what my house would be worth when it's done. So there are some neighborhoods that if you try to go build in right now, it would be a very bad idea, because it's going to cost you more to build it than it'll be worth. But I did my homework in my area, and I thought that even with the increased price, I'm still going to be fine. So I've decided to move forward personally.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that insight, Josh.
I would even venture to say that it's really dependent, like Josh said, you want to do your research, but it also depends on your financial situation and how much time you have. Because it definitely takes time to get a home built. So you want to make sure, like the Bible says, count all the costs, count, your timeline, take that into consideration. You also want to take it account of your budget, your finances, and area, so all those things, it's important. So you want to do your research.
Absolutely. So we keep hearing this same thing repetitive, doing your research, right? So definitely that is so key. I want to ask, as far as the rates for right now as well, what does that look like? What is the average rate that you've noticed for homeowners right now? Is it good rates, right? Is it great rates, should I say, right now versus maybe 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, I can answer that. The rates, and they've been really, really low, really, really great for a long time. And for this year, the expectation is that they're probably gonna increase a little bit, but still, it's still going to be a great time to buy. Just to give an example, and I price loans pretty much every day. It's depending on what day it is, you might get like on a 30-year mortgage. It might dip below 3%, 2.9. And a lot depends on the entire loan package. But you can expect to be right around 3%, if not lower, right now. And rates, they vary every day. They change every day, but not dramatically. But it is a really, really, I mean, it's unbelievable how low they are. And I think we're getting spoiled that rates are so low, but yeah, right now you can expect to be somewhere around 3%.
Awesome. Love it. All right. We had another question that was coming. Yes, there we are. All right, Mr. Christian Slaughter. This is a great question. How does student loans affect pre-approvals? All right, let's hear about that.
Yeah, that is, I'm so glad somebody asked that question. What it comes down to is it depends on which loan program. Each loan, if you have student loans, if you get a mortgage and you have student loans, you're going to have to account for them somehow. Let me start with the strictest one. FHA, for the most part, if you're doing an FHA loan, whatever your balance is on your total balance, FHA is going to count. They're going to calculate your payment at 1% of whatever that balance is. The only exception is if you can show that it's being the amortization is over a specific time. So with FHA, which is a great loan program, the student loan calculation is going to be whatever your balance is. You can expect we're going to count it as 1% of that. And the problem with that is that's usually 1% is actually higher than what your payment actually is. Other loan programs, like with conventional, is basically if you can show us if you can document what your payment is, then that's what we're gonna use. With Bancorp South, 100% financing program, that's the most lenient. If you can, we go with basically the lowest payment. If you can document, most student loans are in deferment right now, but if you can document what your payment is going to be when it comes out of deferment, then we use your actual payment. So it depends on the loan program.
Awesome.
But
Great.
but you do have to account for them, but it just depends.
Awesome. Very good. All right. I don't know if we have another question after that, but we are 10 minutes out. I'll do this last question. Let's see here. I think we may have went over, but we definitely want to ask this question. How much should you save for closing costs?
I'd like to answer that one. Because that comes up all the time too. Again, it depends on the loan program, but it's important to understand that there's two major costs that you're going to have to account for. The first one is going to be your down payment. Mm-hmm. So it's either going to be zero, it's $500, 3.5% of the loan amount, or 5% of the loan amount. The second thing is going to be the closing cost. Now, the closing cost is going to vary based on exactly how, is just how high your mortgage or how high your mortgage is. And what I mean by that is, like, say, for example, if you're doing a $200,000 house, you can probably expect your closing cost to be somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000. If you're buying a $500,000 house, it's going to be more than that. But I haven't seen closing costs lower than $5,000. So just if that can kind of put it into perspective for you. So the two costs you're going to have your down payment, and then you're going to have your closing costs. And so as far as how much you need to save, it depends on it depends on your loan program, but it also depends on how high your mortgage loan is going to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great question as well, Walls. All right. So I'm going to take the last 9 minutes to allow each of you to just share some closing remarks. Of course, also share out with us where we can find you, or anything else that you think people should know whenever they're going through the process of purchasing a home, or selling a home, purchasing land, going through the next process of perhaps getting their second home or a multifamily home. Just give them some information on what they should be doing to go through that process. So we will start off with Ms. D, and then we'll go from there. Not. All right, Joshua, do you mind? You can go ahead.
Yeah, she was having problems?
Yes.
I guess really the only thing that I will leave with is do not skip your home inspection. So maybe you have a family member who is a tradesman of some sort, an electrician or a plumber, or maybe you think the house is only 2 or 3 years old. Maybe you think it's new construction, so you don't get a home inspection. I would highly advise not to get a home inspection every single time, because while it's unlikely maybe in a new construction house that I find something crazy that's just the house is going to fall down, but every single time we at least find items that can be addressed by the builder. And it's much easier to get those addressed up front than after you move in. You got to take off of work and have somebody come out and meet with the tradesman out. And the same with 2 and 3 year old houses. It's usually unlikely that we find lots of major problems, but sometimes we do find an item here or there that would have been a significant cost. And I will say that more times than not, the amount of money that's saved by getting a home inspection far outweighs what the home inspection costs, which is, as Dee said earlier, our cheapest home inspection, and price goes per square foot of the house, and that's total square foot under the roof, not just the living. So normal house, 1,000 square feet, our price is $335, on up to much higher than that, depending on how big the house is. But that's essentially it. Do not skip your home inspection.
All right. If you took nothing else tonight from Joshua, do not skip that inspection. And Joshua, where can they find you? Because I'm telling you, people are coming to purchase homes, and we need to know where to find you to get that inspection.
So, like I said, if you don't use us, use somebody. You don't even have to get your home inspected. If you want use us. We are a great company. We are doing hundreds of inspections every single month in our area. You can check us out online at hdmk.net. That's hdmk.net. And our 1-800 number is actually 888-401, and then that's HDMK. We also have a scheduling system. You could download the app. Typically, the realtors use our app, but a potential buyer could also do that themselves. That you didn't have a realtor, which you should.
Yes.
If you want to use it yourself, you can. You can download our app on the App Store, and you can input all the site information for the home, and all of that can be booked right there through our app.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joshua. I appreciate you. All right, Miss D, talk to us a little bit about your closing remarks, of course, anything that you believe someone should, just take away from what we talked about on tonight, or something perhaps that you think they should know, and then tell them where they could find you to purchase their next home. So we can't hear you, we can't hear you. Try it just again for us. No, we'll come right back to you, okay?
Without the AirPod.
Thanks, Josh. No, you can reach your lips though. All right, we'll come back to you while you get that. Go ahead, Sissy. Let's hear from you.
All right. I've got a couple of little pointers from a title company standpoint. First and foremost, as a buyer, please be aware there's a lot of fraud out there. It's usually through email. And a lot of times, those people that just want to get somebody else's money are looking at your emails. They realize that you're probably in the middle of a buying process, and you may get a fraudulent email asking you to wire money to your title company. Most title companies are not asking a buyer to wire money to them. Okay, so please be aware of that. Always get an email from any title company asking you to wire money to them during the title process. Reach out to your trusted real estate agent. You're going to reach out to D. You're going to make sure you have an actual phone number for your title company. Make sure you know who you're talking to. Call your lender and verify this information ahead of time. Most title companies want you to have a certified check. If you are having to bring more than $2,500 to closing, you must have certified check. They cannot accept a personal check if it's $2,500, and that's by state law in the state of Louisiana. The other thing that we have a lot of issues with is sometimes you have an expired identification. So that has to be a state issued identification, picture ID generally. And a lot of times people will have an expired identification. So you want to make sure that your identification is up to date. The third point I want to hit is that as a buyer, you have a choice for your title company. We're hoping you choose Title Plus. And I want to give you my email address is Cissy, CISSY, at titleplusla.com. That's how you can get in touch with me, or of course, definitely through D, and she'll get you right in touch with me. Phone number, you can get in touch with us if you have any questions on the title process. But you do have a choice who you use in your title company, and I hope you will choose Title Plus.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sissy. All right, Bryant, I'll have you to do your closing remarks, and then we'll get back with Dee to see about her closing remarks, and then we have one last question before we end. All right.
Okay, I was about to answer that question too, but but let me just say that
we can go ahead and answer that question if we can.
About the medical bills and the question is, do medical bills and collections affect your loan? As far as medical collections, the bank, the underwriter, when we're looking at your credit, if you have a medical collection, we disregard it. It doesn't matter the amount or anything else. If it says medical, then we just move on. However, if it's a collection, even though it's medical, the way it's affecting you is that it's going to bring your score down because it is in collection status. So even though we can disregard it, then or not, we don't take it into consideration for making a decision on your loan. It is affecting your loan because if it's in that status, it's going to affect your credit score. Therefore, it's going to affect how much you qualify for, which loan program, and so on. So as far as any other types of collections, it depends on the loan program and it depends on how high. Generally speaking, if the collection item is more than $2,000, then we need to address it. So after that, besides that, as far as my closing remarks, what I would say is my biggest takeaway is whether you're planning on buying a house next month or next year, you need to know where you stand. And we talked about one of the first questions was about getting pre-qualified. I encourage everybody. It doesn't matter when you plan on buying your house, get pre-qualified. And what I mean by that is complete an application. Let's process your application. Doesn't commit you to buying a house, but you want to know which loan programs you're going to qualify for, and more importantly, you want to know how much you qualify for. And the only way you're going to do that is if you take that first step and get pre-qualified. I have so many stories where people will say, well, I'm thinking about, maybe in 6 months or so, not knowing that they're actually ready to buy, and with the different, with the loan programs that we have, not only were they ready to buy, but they didn't have to spend nearly as much money as they wanted to. We don't know when the rates are going to change, so if you're thinking about buying a house, find out go ahead and get pre-qualified by filling out an application. My email address, if you have other questions, I'm sure that there's a lot of other questions that people probably have, is bryant.moore@bxs.com. You spell Bryant BRYANT.Moore MOORE @bxs.com. My number is 225-768-1101. Again, 225-768-1101. I look forward to answering any questions for you. I encourage you to get pre-qualified. At a minimum, let's at least talk about what your plans are, and we can take it from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your information. And one last thing pertaining to the 100% financing that is only offered in the Baton Rouge, Gonzales area, and Walker or Livingston?
Actually, we offer that now. Bancorp South is it's a pretty big bank. But to answer your question, it applies anywhere in Louisiana, Texas, anywhere we're located. The reason I pointed out the Baton Rouge area is because the income level changes based on which parish you're in. For example, our income level, our median income in Baton Rouge is higher than, say, New Orleans. So the income limit here is $59,000, whereas in New Orleans it might be $56,000. So you can do this loan anywhere, but for our purposes, the $59,000 or less is to qualify.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. And Sissy had one other thing she wanted to share, and then we'll get to you, Dee. All right.
I'm so sorry, Dee. One real quick, the medical question brought up something very important I should have said. Buyers need to be aware that when we check title, not only are we checking title on a seller, when there is a loan involved, we also have to run the buyer's name in the records. If you do have a medical situation where the creditor may have filed a judgment against you, filed a lawsuit against you, and they obtained a judgment against you for money that was owed, even if it does not show up on your credit report, it could show up in the clerk of court records in the form of a judgment. If there is a judgment filed against you in the clerk of court records, it will affect the title to anything that you buy as far as real estate is concerned. And in that respect, it would affect your purchasing power in that parish where the judgment is recorded. So that would be something you need to be aware of, as well as if you have any kind of child support judgments, liens, or anything to that effect. That also affects a buyer if that's recorded.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, Miss Dee, are you ready to share with us your closing remarks? We still can't hear you. At least I can't hear you. Are you guys able to hear her?
No.
Okay. Well, if you can, just put your information into the chat for me, and I will share out with the audience of how they can reach out to you. Of course, because I'm sure we will be having a lot more people looking to purchase a home, especially with this good offer, this good program in which Bancorp is offering. I love to hear that you're helping people within our community to purchase homes as well. So I'll continue to spread abroad that great information. Mr. Brian, your phone will be ringing off the hook simply because of what you guys are offering. And I'm just so glad I got clarity on it's not only within just my surrounding area, Baton Rouge, Ascension. I mean, it is throughout the state of Louisiana, Texas as well. So that is just awesome, awesome news to know. So in order to reach D, which will be your realtor of choice, of course, if you choose to go through Miss D, you can reach out to her at area code 601-826-4457. Her email address is d@tomhawk, that's Tim, I'm sorry, Tim, Tim, and then HOUK.com, okay? And she also mentioned, please be sure to have an agent present, presenting for you at all times. 70% of all real estate lawsuits are due to one or both parties not being represented. So make sure you have someone representing you whenever you're ready to purchase your home, okay? I definitely want to uplift this within economic empowerment, just elevate people getting their homes, getting into their first home or even purchasing another home. Of course, even if it's land, if you're looking to just put some type of property on this land, whether it's multifamily property, I really want to elevate this for our department within economic empowerment at United Christian Faith Ministry. So I'll go ahead and close out for tonight. I do want to again thank each of you guys for your time and your just expertise in the work in which you do. I know we had a lot of people enjoyed the information in which you provided. Again, like I stated, you all will receive some phone calls, so just expect that. But I do want to honor our pastor at United Christian Faith Ministries, Pastor Mark A. Ellis, who has a vision for helping people, of course, economically, getting substantial income, of course, uplifting them through economics, of course. So one of those things could look like purchasing a home, whether it may be creating a will, trust, getting insurance. All those things fall under the Department of Economic Empowerment. So we look forward to doing things such as this through our department. I am the director with Economic Empowerment. So if you're needing to reach me for more events such as this, or if you have some ideas as far as events for economic empowerment with United Christian Faith Ministries, please reach out to me at EMP@UCFministries.org. All right. So those are some ways in which you could, well, there's just one way in which you're able to reach me through economic empowerment, also through going through the process of reaching us at our church as well, at UCFministries.org, and going to our website to get more information on the work in which we do. So once again, you all, I definitely appreciate your expertise, your wisdom and knowledge on the information shared on tonight. We had a lot of great questions. Thank you all so very much, and look forward to sharing some more information once again like this. All right, so you all have an amazing night, and thank you once again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.